Welcome back. I had mentioned to you that before the program that Professor Saab is hungry and he would not take questions. When I asked him just now, he said he has overeaten and still he will not answer questions. But what we have decided is, we will continue with the... You'll know the answer very shortly. What we have decided is, you know that before Dr. Swami speaks, there are two other speakers, Mr. M.R. Venkatesh, who is going to speak on a decade of decay, and Professor Arvind Chaturvedi. What we have decided is, both these speakers would speak, and then jointly all three of them would take questions. Dr. Swami is also shortly going to join us. So we'll have a question all put together for all the three speakers at the end of the second speaker going to be speaking now. As you must be aware, our meet is already trending on the Twitter. I hope most of you must be aware, and you know that there is a live webcast going on of our program. So I now would request Aniruddha Lime of our PT from Pune to introduce Mr. M.R. Venkatesh. Aniruddha Lime.
Ladies and gentlemen, respected members of the panel, thank you all for being here and enabling an inspiring exchange of ideas. I am not a public speaker, so I was a little nervous when I was asked to make a few introductions or one introduction today. But with the bar for public speaking having been set quite low a few weeks ago, I feel encouraged to giving it a good shot. I have the honor of introducing Mr. M.R. Venkatesh to this gathering. But though with a few thousand followers and I think over 6,000 tweets, I'm not sure he's in need of any introduction at all. His profile, I'm sure as many of us are aware, is well known through his columns and various media interactions. So I would like to introduce him the way I know him. I was first introduced to Mr. Venkatesh around a year ago. Since then, I've had the good fortune or the opportunity of meeting and interacting with him on several occasions. Each interaction has left me richer in terms of new ideas, perspectives, and on various issues that were being publicly debated at that point in time. On one occasion, while informally debating another professional on a hot political topic of the day, I'll not mention the topic, I had the pleasure of watching Mr. Venkatesh demolish the rivals' arguments with such clarity of thought that it was almost surgical. What struck me most, however, was his humility and civility throughout the entire dialogue. His keen sense of attention to detail and broad-based knowledge on various social, political and economic issues is truly inspiring to me. At the same time, he maintains his deference for colleagues and seniors. That is indeed refreshing. Despite his busy schedule, I have always found him accessible and responsive to any queries or questions that I've had. So, thank you, sir. So how does one introduce him? Mr. Venkatesh is a chartered accountant who addresses the business concerns relating to economic policies, international trade and business strategies. He is currently a partner in GSV Associates, a CA firm based out of Chennai. But there is more to his personality than this. He is the author of several books. A handbook on anti-dumping, global imbalances and the impending dollar crisis, and Sensex and Sentiments are some of his notable works over the recent years. He has also recently completed a book titled Manmohan Singh, A Decade of Decay, that I'm sure a lot of us here are keen to read when it is released next month. In passing, the only non-adulatory thing I could say about Mr. Venkatesh is that he still does not follow me on Twitter. A lacuna that, knowing his nature, I'm sure he will rectify ASAP. Friends, without further ado, I request Mr. Venkatesh to take the stand. Thank you.
I request Mrs. Radha Raju to present a bouquet to M.R. Venkatesh. M.R. Venkatesh.
कुछ पेपर से just the mic. Professor Vaidyanathan, Jagdish ji, my good friend Abhishek, Mr. Chaturvedi, brothers and sisters of the Twitter world. Speaking after lunch is a very difficult proposition. Speaking about Manmohan Singh is a much difficult proposition. Speaking about Manmohan Singh after lunch, you should understand. Actually, a couple of our Twitter friends came to my office a few months back, and we were discussing the state of affairs of the country. And one of them, actually this idea about this collection of all my articles came from one of the Twitter friends. Said, sir, each article of you, of what you have written the last couple of years has been highly critical about the Manmohan Singh government. Whether it is economics, whether it is politics, whether it is foreign affairs, whatever it is. If you collect it and bring it out in a book form, wouldn't it be good? I said, let me ponder, and consulted a few people, and they said, yes, this is a good idea. But I thought, what should be the name of the book? The name of the book must capture something which probably we must be able to tell to the outside world in a very succinct manner. This again was brought about by one of our Twitter friends. In fact, right now somebody is sitting and designing the cover page. I'm not doing anything. So, as usual. And people are helping me with the books in terms of planning its sales, planning the e-copy. We are planning the e-copy to be released by May 18th or 19th, which coincides with the power oath administered to Dr. Manmohan Singh in 2004. So, he will be going into the 10th year. So then the title flew from that another decade of decay. But this 10 years, if you look at it and take the balance sheet of the country, its economy, its politics, its ethics, its character, I don't know of any field that has been left demented by this government. It's a tragedy of our times that Dr. Manmohan Singh's government would leave this country in a far worse shape than when it actually ascended the office. And yet it was in power for 2 decades, around 6 years of which we witnessed 8 to 9% growth. So many things could have been done. I don't want to sound polemical, but just let me take you through some of the facts and figures and leave the audience to judge. 1965, when India had got a thrashing from China in early 60s, then it had a war with Pakistan in 65. The consumption of food grain in India was 418 grams per day per capita, and 62 grams per day per capita of pulses consumption. This is recorded by the Economic Survey. 2010, the figure is 407 grams per day per capita and 32 grams of pulses. In fact, we consume far less food per day per capita than what we consumed in 1965, which was a drought year, and it was after 2 successive wars. So this whole idea about food self-security, food self-sufficiency, food security, that we have got surplus food. Of course we have got surplus food, but the reason for which I will come to it shortly is not because that we have got abundance. In fact, I was going through the Google and finding out what do they feed per day in calorie value in Guantanamo Bay, which is one of the worst prisons. They feed 3,500 calories. Our planning commission says Of course, Montek Singh Ahluwalia, another great economist. He says if you consume 2,400 calories for a male in a rural area and 2,100 calories for a female in a rural area, 2,100 calories for a male in an urban area and 1,800 for a female in an urban area, you are supposed to be calorie self-sufficient. What they feed as prisoners, half of which we feed to our people, and we say we are a self-sufficient country in food stocks. Please understand, this has got profound implications for the way we handle things. We want to handle things with only half-filled stomach. It's a very serious issue. It's not only that. Look at the consequences. 20% of our population, admittedly by the government, is undernourished. Now, let us take this 10 years. Country like Niger has dropped its proportion of undernourished population 37% to 16%. Nigeria from 16 to 6. Sudan from 39 to 22. Burkina Faso from 14 to 8. Congo Republic from 42 to 13%. Between 2004 and 2009, out of 183 countries or 184 countries, 180 countries recorded growth. 3 countries or 4 countries did not record growth. One of those countries is Congo Republic. A country which could not record growth when the whole world was growing was able to bring down its share of undernourished population from 42 to 13. We are safely at 20. Like Manmohan Singh, it is not moving. It is firmly entrenched at 20. Take the prevalence of undernourished, malnourished children below 5 years. Afghanistan ranks better than you. I am not talking about Malaysia or a Philippines or a South Korea. No, those figures are not to be reached by us. We don't even have them as our benchmark. Look at it. Country like Liberia has just 14%. Afghanistan 28%. Bangladesh 41%. Bhutan 12%. Burkina Faso 26%. Burundi 35%. Ethiopia 35%. India 45%. 45% of our children are malnourished. We don't speak about it. We say 32 rupees per day is enough. It's a very sad state of affairs. Take the Human Development Index. Actually, we have slipped from 120 to 134 in the last 10 years. And which are the countries above you? Look at it. Samoa, 99. Suriname, 104. Gabon, 106. Mongolia, 110. Vanuatu, 125. Iraq, 132. India, 134. If you are being next to this Namibia, Gamibia, Omibia and all these countries, what is the brand value of this country? You mean to say foreigners are not watching these figures? You can hide these figures from our population. Media never bothers about these figures. But the world knows that India is 134 in Human Development Index. There is a great debate about Kalavati versus Jasuben now. Now, look at Kalavati. Rahul Gandhi told the parliament that she was the mother of 9 children. Her husband committed suicide. Her daughter committed suicide. Her son-in-law committed suicide. You know, something like that great Bengali movie maker, sir. What is his name? Satyajit Ray. Typically in Satyajit Ray, this type of stories will be, the Bengalis love to celebrate poverty. I don't know why. Now, this is a story of Satyajit Ray type of movies. Anybody could have helped Kalavati. The women's ministry could have helped. The child ministry could have helped. There is an agricultural ministry could have helped. The family planning ministry could have helped. Nothing else helped her. And she was allowed to have 9 children, and today you say that she has had 9 children, and look at her pathetic state of affairs. So this is our problem. Our problem is that the state as a delivery mechanism, where it should, it is not, and where it should not, it is imposing itself and creating huge amount of hurdles. Let me come to the other side of the divide. International Finance Corporation and the World Bank has come out with an ease of doing business. Professor was telling how, why in a small shop, a fellow can enter and close the shop. In fact, I was telling him during lunchtime, customs law, excise law and service law have been amended by this budget, under which an assessing officer can straight away arrest anybody if he thinks you have not paid the service tax. Straight away arrest. This is despite a Supreme Court ruling which says that you should not do it. They got over the Supreme Court ruling with a direct amendment to the respective laws. Now if you do business and if an assessing officer says, give me 5,000 rupees or 5 lakh rupees or whatever, and you don't pay, it's most likely he will say you have brought in a factory wherein you could have brought in a kerchief. You say, I am assessing it that so many crores, you pay it tomorrow, else you face arrest. Ease of doing business. India is ranked 132 out of 185. Starting a business we rank 173. And I will tell you a secret. All this was told by one retired director of a great software company. I won't name him. He has a beard. I will just strip it out. Now, he was telling, India is so difficult place to do business. So many things are a problem. So many things are in a mess. Then it was my turn to speak. I told him, sir, your company is maintaining the MCA website and the MCA website is down for the last 30 days. Boli band. This is our problem, because if it is government, this PPP model is one of the most nonsensical models. Private can loot, public can loot. You loot yours, I loot mine. Dealing with construction permits, we are ranked 182 out of 185 countries. If you want a standard business building plan in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, now the going rate is 30%. That is the standard rates. Enforcing contracts. This is a very interesting thing. So I was, during the Vishurupam imbroglio, when my state had banned that particular movie, I was with a Supreme Court lawyer, inside Supreme Court, discussing, Supreme Court, not much of things to discuss. Usually we have too much of time to sit down and yap. So we were with some lawyers in the corridor. I was telling him, sir, you look at it, this movie, what do you think? He said, look at it, Venkatesh, I don't agree, all sorts of arguments were there. I said, you must look into Rule of Law Index, which has been a world justice project by the Newcon family and the Melinda Gates family. And they say they have tabulated the levels where you will find various countries adhering to the law by their own government. It is not you and me, it is the government doing it. Say, order and security, India is ranked 96 out of 97 countries. Again, Afghanistan is better, Mongolia, Tongolia, Tonga, Tunga, Bunga, Uganda, Buranda, Burundi, all are above us. Then, enforcing the contract is, by the government is 96. I pointed out to him. He said, Venkatesh, you must be glad there is something called Supreme Court. But for Supreme Court, but for the majesty of law being upheld, typical lawyers. Once they start, they don't know when to stop. He went on for 5-7 minutes, all pure good English. Then he said, we have upheld the law and the majesty of law has been upheld by the Supreme Court. But for it, you don't know what would have happened to this country. I then said, sir, the index is, we are ranked 184 out of 185 countries when it comes to even enforcing contracts by the court. He asked me, who is the last country? I said, Timor-Leste. You have raped every single institution in this country. The parliament is raped. The judiciary is maimed. Everything is in complete decadence in the last 10 years. Nothing survives. The British, the Mongols, the Turks, so many people have invaded. The British, the French, the Dutch. You aggregate all their, negatives, what they have done to this country, and compare it with this 10 years of rule by Dr. Manmohan Singh, you will find all these people collectively were gods. That is the level to which we have been brought by this government. We don't have food security. And we have withdrawn food. You understand what is happening. You have something called the food, what they call the futures market. And that is a huge Satta Bazaar. And to take the prices of food up in the Satta Bazaar, the prices in the physical market have to be taken up. And if the physical markets have to be taken up, food is actually withdrawn from the physical market. How do they do it? They have got something called the PDS mechanism or the ration shop. Today we have got something around 66 million tons of food grains in our in the food grain godowns of the Food Corporation of India. Every year we add 10 million tons or 15 million tons and feed it to the rats. And because of this withdrawal of food grain from the system, there is a shortage in the physical market. Because there is a shortage in the physical market, the prices of food grains goes up. And once the physical grains goes up, the prices in the futures market go up. India is one country which cannot afford futures market. We want to have that. Why? Because, oh sir, you look at it, the Western world has futures market. It is price discovery. Our stock market itself is a rigged casino. Madam Sucheta Dalal was there talking about this. In fact, the previous book I had dedicated was only to say that stock market is a rigged casino. You can only play in the stock market if you know how to rig the game. SEBI is cash and carry. Everything. It's a cash market. Every institution. Don't think that I'm only saying about SEBI. It's almost every institution. So there are huge amounts of areas where you find that the decadence is so prevalent amongst us, so overwhelming, so telling that we do not know what is happening. The net result, and I will close this with just 5-10 minutes of my presentation. Just listen to this and you will understand what is the precarious state of this country. Today you cannot start a project without factoring 30 to 40% extra cost, which is the cost of corruption. Whether it is a small building that you want to build or whether it is a huge factory that you want to put up. And if you want to compete globally with this 40% extra cost, however efficient you are in your production process, your interest rates get lowered, your employees are highly productive, you are not able to compete at the global level. You have thermal plants, but no coal. Sir, suddenly this time what happened? Kumbh Mela came. That is why we could not shunt coal into the thermal power plant. This is the answer. As if Kumbh Mela suddenly came at 5 p.m. on one evening. So you have completely stopped producing. In fact, the level of production in the manufacturing sector is dwindling. So what do? But we want goods. We are a population of 1.2 billion. We have to require goods. So we started importing like absolutely recklessly. The imports from China have really shot up. Something like we run something around $40 billion worth of deficit with China. And China is not giving you any high-tech goods. It is giving you simple, ordinary goods. We are not importing frigates. We are not importing some huge armaments, high-tech computers, nothing. In 2011, we imported 70,000 crores of sensitive items. In 2011-12, we are importing 100,000 crores worth of sensitive items. In 2012-13, the figure is estimated to be 140,000 crores. And what are the sensitive items? Pencil, pen, umbrella, toys, milk, edible oil, dal, all these we are importing. Why we are importing? Because all these things which are supposed to be manufactured here is not in any position to be manufactured in this country because of enormous amount of state's influence, interference by the police, interference by one commissioner, interference by that commissioner, labor laws, you have no power. So people have found that, oh, why should I start do all these things and then get into all this chakar, and all on top of it you have got this 90-day NPA norms. I always tell my clients, never borrow 50 crores, 10 crores, 15 crores. Bank will be after you. Take 6,000 crores. You can watch IPL. But none of my clients listen to me. They say, how can we take 6,000 crores, sir? You take 6,000 crores, you don't have to worry about it. The bank manager will come and say, sir, I went to Tirupati yesterday. Please take Laddu, sir. Whereas if you take 10 crore, 15 crore, you will say, this is March, you have to pay your NPA norms. I don't want to talk to you. Please remit. This is the prevailing situation in this country. So today nobody wants to do this type of business that used to run. Professor always says 40 to 50% of the manufacturing comes from the, am I correct, Professor, from the what we call as unincorporated sector. This 40 to 50% which contributes to India's manufacturing is not contributing the level, or it is put into enormous stress. Net result, our current trade deficit is around 10% of our GDP, which is around $190 billion. $190 billion is our trade deficit. And we export a bit of software here, some tourism receipts, net our current account deficit. We require, according to our own finance minister, $75 billion year after year. He says foreign direct investment is not a choice. But for foreigner, India is one of the several choices. He must understand. When Indians are not investing in India, when Indians are not producing in India, when Indians say, oh, we don't have power, we have labor laws, we have this very harsh NPA norms, we don't get enough raw materials, we don't have coal, we don't do this, we don't do that. Why should foreigners come and invest in India? And if some foreigners come, it is only their bad karma of entering India. I have nothing, but I don't say that don't come. But if they are coming, it is only because of their bad karma they are entering in this country. And if they are going to come and start doing something here, the problem, look at it. If your $75 billion doesn't come in this year, your rupee is not 55, it will be 65. And why should I invest today and find at the threshold my investment of $100 million, which is worth into 55, will actually be devalued by 10-15%. Straight. First year I have to take a hit. I would rather wait and see if rupee really depreciates. At that time I will come. Only when the rupee starts appreciating, people will start go and invest in India. Till it has not found the bottom, you will not find the investor coming to India. Because they will wait. Because if they wait, they are profited. Sheerly by doing nothing, just like our Prime Minister, they will be profited. So we are in a very precarious situation. If we do anything, we are damned. If we don't do anything, we are doomed. So the finance, I have written this and I am telling this in front of Dr. Swami, that the next finance minister will take 3 years to clean the mess in the wall. 3 years. Because it's not going to be easy task. the other hand, if at all you survive all these things, if you are able to make some profits and go to the income tax department, because there is a huge amount of expenditure that this government has programmed, the government has gone berserk in giving income tax notice to everybody. If you walk along the income tax department, 1,000 crore notice. To that extent, people are being reckless and behaving recklessly in this particular administration. So I am appalled. And I am so appalled that we are not having a proper mechanism. And if you go to the next level or to the High Court, the judges say, please deposit 50%, we will conduct the case. And these are not 5 rupee, 10 rupee cases, we are all 5,000 crores, 7,000 crores, 2,000 crores worth of demand that is coming in. So you are effectively telling rather to the foreign investors, come here, we will slap you, we will hit you. Which idiot will invest in this country? Foreign investment is not going to happen, and we require foreign investment now. This is the time we genuinely require foreign investment to boost. But I am not saying that foreign investment alone will lift us and all. We also require foreign investment. And this is one of the wonderful times that God has given us, because the whole world is sinking. We are only one country or perhaps two countries, we along with China, which offers a huge investment destination. But nobody is bothered. Look at what is the mess we have created out of Sri Lanka. It's one country which has stood with us. And we have not been able to give them some type of support that it should have been given at the time when the resolution was passed against Sri Lanka. In fact, we were with the opponents of Sri Lanka, and when tomorrow something happens to us, be assured Sri Lanka will be against us. We have created enemy out of Sri Lanka. I will close with perhaps something that we can just chew about on Sri Lanka at least. Look at Sri Lanka. What is the biggest gain that Sri Lanka has from doing something with India? It is trade. There is a port that was requested to be developed. I think this morning Nalapat was talking about Gadar port I am talking about Hambantota. They called Hambantota and told Indian guys to develop the port. We said no. We don't want to develop. They called the Chinese, and the Chinese is inside this Hambantota. This Hambantota is in a southernmost tip of Sri Lanka, and that is on the highway, which is the shipping highway. Every day 100 cargo ship passes through that, carrying cargo between Singapore and other part of Asia into the European side. They want to develop Hambantota as to be one of the largest transshipment ports. What India should have done? Ideally, they should have told Dr. Swami, look, Dr. Rama is a historical character. You don't please come to the court. At least for this, you don't come to the court. We will not break the Ram Setu. We will develop the Thoothukudi port, which is a smaller port, but this will be sufficient to lift the cargo out of Tamil Nadu into Sri Lanka. Hambantota port is built in Sri Lanka with Chinese money, with Chinese standards. If you export the whole of Sri Lanka also, it will only take 40% of the capacity. So, Hambantota port is dependent on India. And how do we develop Hambantota port? We have to give the goods. But what does Sri Lankan, Tamil Nadu government do to Hambantota? We only want to show black flags. We don't want to capitalize. This is what is called a thinking that will go beyond what we require to take them along with us, tie them with an embrace, economic embrace, and see to that they are always indebted to you. And you can actually, I have also written about this, we are given a complete blueprint. Develop the entire corridor within Tamil Nadu. Have a dedicated freight from Coimbatore or Salem into Thoothukudi. And from Thoothukudi have feeder vessels that will feed into Hambantota. And develop Hambantota. You don't have to develop Thoothukudi port. This budget has given 7,500 crore to develop Thoothukudi. Ideally, you should give 7,500 crores to Sri Lanka. Problem will be solved in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka will be indebted to you perennially. Give that money to Sri Lanka. Tell them that we are taking over this port. And start doing this feeder thing into Sri Lanka. Develop a dedicated freight corridor. Take over Sri Lanka. All these things require something that goes beyond bureaucratic mindset of writing on the left hand side in a green ink pen. This is what finally this government is all about. For everything they have a law. Anti-rape law. Can you prevent rapes with law? Yesterday we had a small child bearing the brunt of this. This government thinks if it passes some law and be supinely indifferent towards governance, the job is well done. It is like telling that if you write on this file here and noting there is what it is. And as far as economic reforms is concerned, it straight away starts doing this 108 namas of foreign direct investment. Only two things this government does. If you don't have food, we'll pass a Food Security Act. It thinks from the biblical, let there be light. There is a biblical, genetically they are rooted to Bible. You see, professor is not agreeing to me. This is the problem with professor. I said, professor, you are a doctor. I will stop here with only one thing. That if, and we really mean business in terms of saving the country, all this cannot be captured, say, in a 30-minute presentation or a 45-minute presentation. We are only giving you a flavor of what is in store. I think PTs are the people who can understand. PTs are the people who can digest. PTs are the people who can disseminate this information. My request to each one of you is that the country is in a very dangerous position in terms of certain important parameters. Right from food to foreign policy, this government has put the clock back by 10-15 years. The whole world has progressed in the last 10 years. There are several areas on which we have not. I would only urge each one of you that kindly take this up as a challenge, because it is not to be left to the political class alone, or it is not Dr. Swami alone who has to fight this battle. All of us have to put up our hands and see how best we can support this. Else, God forbid, it could be the third term for Dr. Manmohan Singh. Remember this whenever you wake up in the morning. All of you will behave.